Good afternoon. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We're streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to your Facebook page, look us up, or hit see first to see and hear all the great programs on WNHHLP. And just a reminder, Cannabis Corner is also streaming live on the Greenhaven Media Facebook page and ProCannabisMedia.com. Good afternoon. It is Monday, December the 1st. Welcome to Cannabis Corner. I'm your host, Joe LaChance, Joe the Weed Guy, and I am joined here by, of course, the one and only Uncle Lou, Farmer Lou. How are you today, my brother?
Hey, how's it going? Good, sir. Figuring out technology today for some reason, but we're here.
Technology, I always say that every time I go in the grocery store and the cashier machine malfunctions. I'm like, and this is supposed to be taking over the world? Hey. I mean, you know what I mean? It needs a few kinks worked out because it's not perfect.
It's going to be, it's one of those rabbit holes I went through recently. The Matrix, Terminators, who knows, you know? We walk ourselves into a horrible space thinking that AI, computers, technology and everything's going to save us. One day we're going to put our own selves into a sleep and have them just live for us. It's scary.
It can go that way, or we can use AI and technology to help us redesign, let's say, society.
100%.
Right? We could actually help.
Right. We're all good. There's some inherent evil.
Right, and it all depends on who's working it. You know, and that's right. The thing. And AI even has said it to people who use it. Like, if you treat me nice, I'm going to treat you nice. Mm-hmm. So,
GPT has all of the... I was speaking with some people, and they were like, some of the AIs are now building in their nanny bots. Oh, no, you can't ask me that. Or
I refuse to use Chat GPT anymore.
So
I canceled my subscription. Just because it's, I used it 2 months ago, maybe, and it gave me everything I wanted. And then at some point, I don't know how many months ago they did it, they did some upgrade, and I asked it exactly the same thing, and it wouldn't do it for me. It edited it, it nanny-botted it on me. Thank God I had the old chat saved.
That's it.
It's really weird how they are now throttling it. Certain ones, I don't know if they all are, but ChatGPT, which is the main one everybody thinks is so great, is definitely being edited and censored. Like you say, becoming a nanny thing.
You're 100% right on that, And we talk about it all the time. We talk about it in cannabis. We talk about it in money. We talk about it in business, personal life. So as we continue to move this show forward, and we love talking cannabis, but health and wellness, finances, we try to expand a little bit more on just our own conversations, because it comes back to cannabis every time. And there's a conversation you and I have been having pretty hardcore, Joe, for a while. You brought it up.
Yes,
it's a great topic.
Well, that's part of the reason I wanted to have Kimura and Jocelyn on, because I want to make it more about community. One thing that struck me about our big party we had last week, and everybody seemed to see it, was that there's a difference between society and community. And what we've been talking about, Lou, is society, right? All the technology, all that kind of stuff. But what's real is community. Oh, I lost Lou. He's muted for a minute. So
no, we're here.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing the thing. But you're 100% right. We've talked community, society, people, places, those around us, and all the different definitions that people will give when talking about those things. But as we've continued to grow, I think as people, as friends, as a show, we're experiencing more and more of these people that are becoming great friends, community, that we're trying to have all of these things. And now it's not just the cannabis ventures, but what else is going on? You know?
Right.
So I'm really excited that cannabis brings us all together. But let's celebrate what's going on and the other things that we do, you know, the other 364 days of the year, supporting, bringing people together, touching base, bettering ourselves through education or a philanthropy or anything of those sorts, you know?
Right. You're right, Lou. And I was able to sum it up. Oh, good. We got both our guests on.
Yep, that's right.
One of you guys unmute and come on. But I was able
Do your
to.
introductions, Joe.
Okay, right now with us is Jocelyn Serta, right now, who runs Mercado Popular Hartford. And with grocery stores far and few, the fresh food even harder to find, our founder, Jocelyn Serta, started organizing pop-up markets to fill the gap with love, culture, and care in every bag. What started as one woman's mission has grown into a community-powered movement to make fresh, healthy food accessible to all while uplifting local farmers, especially farmers of color. And then with us also, we have Kimora Harrington, who runs Kimora's Cultural Corner Community, which is a large community that serves all of Hartford with not only fresh food, but a place to gather and come get support. Kimora can probably describe it better for me. But part of the reason I wanted to bring the two of you on together is because you are also doing a big campaign right now with Kimora's Cultural Corner. It's Warm Heads, Full and Fierce Love Campaign movement. And maybe there's a way you guys could team up, and you guys are both in Hartford. You know what I mean? And that's an area that I necessarily am not that well educated in about because I don't go up there that much. But I know it's an area that has a large community, a large, very diverse community that is also, how do I say it, not necessarily always in the best of shape, needs help. isn't always well taken isn't always well taken care of by, let's say, the state or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Jocelyn, are you there?
I am. Hello, hello.
Come on in.
Hey,
I
Jocelyn.
wanted-
Hey, Kimora. Hey, Joe. Hey, Louise. How are you?
I wanted to congratulate you first of all. I know the last time we had you on, you were talking about how you're trying to get the Mercado together, and you finally had your grand opening last weekend, correct?
Yes, on Wednesday. Very soft opening, but we're open.
And I want how do you find the reception from the community? Do you feel like there's some support you could get, or how's the first few days going?
That's a good question. So the first few days, I'm going to say the first day was great. We had about, 20 people stop by. So that was, exciting. I believe that we're going to be okay. I think this is something that, I've been told that people have been waiting for or looking forward to. And once I announced it, I received a lot of, great feedback and support. So I just can't wait to see how, the rest of the month goes. But I think we'll be okay, Joe. I have a feeling that this is something that everybody will embrace. So, yeah.
One thing I noticed when I was searching for your website is that Mercado Popular is a very is used all over the world, meaning market of the people, right? If that's the people, it's the people's market, right? And it's I remember in Puerto Rico when I lived there was a Mercado Popular, right? It came once a month, right? But they said that's what it was, the people's market. So the concept now, which is a worldwide concept, you have finally brought here to Connecticut, especially to Hartford, the capital city. And I think that's very commendable, and I think it deserves community support, but not only support from the community, but a little bit of support from the state too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
Because
thank you for saying that too, Joe, because yes, it is. It already exists. There are already people that have come together, farmers, small businesses, black and brown owned businesses that come together and, feed, right, communities that host their own pop ups. And this is just another extension of that. This isn't anything that I own, specifically. So I'm glad you said that.
well, yeah, it struck me, and then when I saw all the different ones, and then I remembered in Puerto Rico, that's what they called it. The market. It would come once a month, and it was all the local farmers, and it was great. It was a great thing. So I'm glad we finally got that. Now it's a question of making sure we have all the local farmers involved, right? We got to get them all together, and I mean that would be the concept, correct?
Hey, Joe,
Yeah.
I was able to stop by on the
Oh,
show,
that's right. You went.
and
Yes.
Jocelyn has a great group of local farmers that have really come in. She's been working with them for a long time. I was very excited to come in and purchase my late lunch dinner for that night, basically. And I was able to pick up some fresh bread, pick up some veggies, a spread, and a little protein, and made some sandwiches and help support that business there. And I know that she continues to reach out to the community and pour out that way. And it's hard. It's really hard in areas I'm from. I live in Fairhaven, so it's there isn't very much fresh produce and things like that come from the local communities, or at least Connecticut based. Food deserts are a real thing. I stopped at a supermarket the other, a bigger store, and
Oh,
Oh, we lost him.
I think we lost him for a minute, but I think I understand what he's saying. And Kamora, you can attest to that. You guys are both in Hartford. It has to be hard to get fresh food, fresh, good, organic, grown locally food in Hartford or any city of that size on a regular basis.
On a regular basis. But I will say, like with Jocelyn, and so Mercado Popular exists now, but Jocelyn's been doing, right. So last year she had the farm shares going out, and I like to say by hook or by crook, but there are folks who've been making it happen. And 2020 was that strange wake up call. And I hate the term mutual aid, right? But communities of care, communities that support each other. 2020, people started building an infrastructure. And since then, the folks who need and want, it's hard to navigate, but access is there. But it's a whole lot of work where I love you for doing this. I'm glad that you got both of us here today, because it's really easy for folks who are not from, I don't like listening to anyone who tells me that my city is a food desert, because it's not. Food apartheid exists, and we can talk about how food apartheid exists. And I can share, about how I am redistributing food, and then I can talk about how Jocelyn is working with the creators to get what they're creating out into the hands of the people who need it. But there's so much greatness that's happening, and the greatness that's happening doesn't serve the corporate overlords. So luckily, there's a Joe LaChance who can create a space where Kamora, who's doing amazing things, and Jocelyn, who's doing amazing things in the city of Hartford, can share the successes rather than bringing in the talking heads who can talk about, oh, it's so sad, give money to the sad, poor people in Hartford. Right. Give us money, but it's because we're great, not because we're sad and poor.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I often say you guys should be the ones running the city, but hey, that's just me. People like you. I know you couldn't do it both of you on your own, but you know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm. But it's so much fun to have a city leader come to my space with a hat in hand problem so that we can discuss the problem. And I can just say, oh, we take care of that by ... It's not a problem. It's a problem because you need bureaucracy. But the problem between the food getting to the people who need it are problems of bureaucracy and austerity, right? There's lots of food. There's lots of people who need it. We just need to figure out how to get it to them. And that involves, physically moving it, but then getting over people's puritanical ideas about who deserves to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that now there you bring up a good point there. Exactly right. And food equality, right? You know, everybody deserves the right to eat. And that's been a big thing on my mind lately. A lot of it really struck me when they shut down those SNAP benefits to show how bureaucracy, it not only shows that, but it also shows how people in need cannot depend on the government to take care of their needs. Because yeah, maybe they can but you can see how they can easily pull the rug out from under these programs that they have set up. And I think that was almost the purpose of it, you know, really. But those who are wide awake enough to see saw that right then and there was, for me, a big another level of turning point. You know, all the millions I've had on the way up to this point. But and it's important that people like Jocelyn, people like Kimora, there are other people in other communities who are doing the same thing, like you say, who saw the need early on and started setting up this local infrastructure little by little, and now is starting to, like Jocelyn finally has brought it out to the public. But like you said, you've been laying the groundwork for this for a long time because you saw the need a long time ago. Same thing with you, Kimora. You've been laying the groundwork for your community and everything you do for a long time because you saw the need. You know, and that's what we need is visionaries and more future thinkers like you who see a problem before the state, before the government, before the media sees it, because you're there. It's your community, and you're living in it. And it's like, we already know the government ain't going to take care of us. We got to take care of ourselves. And I think that community mentality needs to be spread out to all of humanity because we have been programmed improperly. And this is what, you know what I'm saying? It is against our nature to be forced, and I say forced, to live the way we do.
We're dependent. We're very dependent on, I'm going to say, the system. And I go back to Kimora's point earlier. We saw a big shift start, during the pandemic. And, Mercado started off as a pop-up in the middle of the winter during the pandemic. And we got to see how needed it was, right? We had bare shelves. There was a lot of uncertainty. Mind you, we didn't accept SNAP, but we, if someone did have a need for food, you were just given food, like no questions asked. You didn't have to fill out a form. And just experiencing that during the pandemic, I think that, like, for me personally, it woke me up because it's like, this isn't right. This isn't the last time something like this is going to happen. And just thinking, we have everything that we need right here in Connecticut. We do. We just have to tap into those sources and believe the sources and trust, those sources. And Hartford is home to a lot of skilled, resilient people who are often overlooked. And I think if we have spaces like Kimora's Cultural Corner, right, where you get to connect with people, where you get to talk, where you get to do things, right, where you have spaces like Mercado, where our goal is to have workshops that encourage self-sufficiency, like growing your own food, making your own salve, right? So you don't have to go to Walmart and buy an ointment, for example. Just that's just an example.
Right.
Right. Just teaching people how to, I'll say, be self-sufficient, even though there's levels to that.
Very true.
Right. If you give people the tools, maybe they'll be a little better off. They don't have to depend on, a shaky infrastructure, if that made sense. But
well, yeah, and an infrastructure that is not necessarily designed to be in their best interests.
That part.
We can go beyond the food, that is sold in the mass supermarkets or whatever. we can go into the medicine. We can go, we can go as far as the whole system as you want, but let's stick with food for now.
Let's keep it simple.
Right.
But yeah, like when it really comes down to it, does the government hold great responsibility towards feeding us as people? Of course they do. Has the government completely abdicated that responsibility? Clearly. So our job is to figure out how to feed people while still holding everyone accountable. So like with us, the government decided that they were going to shut down food stamps. And so we figured out how to get money into the hands of people who needed it. And like I say, with this infrastructure, well, we've been building people for 5 years to understand that some people have more than they actually need. Many other people have less than they need. And we all fail if we say, it's someone else's responsibility. So like for us, I'm gonna keep saying it, my flex, within 48 hours, we pulled in like $4,000 in small donations that we then gave to people in small donations. And then in here, like the food stamp thing was a chance for amazing education, right? Because we get to talk to people who they were scared, this is so awful, and they want to bring boxes of canned goods. And no one wants canned goods. Who the fuck really, I'm sorry, Joe, I do it all the time. Right?
I know you do. That's okay.
Who really wants to eat canned goods, right? And who feels loved and cared for? And if we're taking care of people's souls, then let's do better than food drives. So we, the part of the education was we need cash and we need gift cards. But then we do this food thing every Saturday and we do it in a big way and we practice abundance every single week. So I had these people who the food insecurity thing was brand new to them. All they knew was bring gift cards to 75 Sterling Street in Hartford. So they showed up with that fear and that like, oh, this is so awful. I hope all I have is $25, all I have is $50. And it was wonderful to meet them with a whole bunch of broke, hungry people and me. And we accepted them and welcomed them with joy. And it was like, welcome, we're so happy you're here. Oh, no, don't worry. Your $25 goes into a big pot of a whole lot of other $25 is. And we're giving, like, this is wonderful. And this is how community comes together. So that and along with really bringing people into the education around food apartheid rather than food deserts, and then getting people to consciously think about this, right? Like if you're trying to help poor people in Hartford, well, our bodegas are where we buy food. And while there's this wonderful idea, like there's this suburban understanding that you're supposed to hate the bodegas and you're supposed to hate the corner stores because they've got low quality food and they have very high prices, right? And there are very real systemic problems or reasons for that. But without those stores, our community fails.
Yeah.
And so when people were coming to me asking about, how to do food and they wanted to do the food drives, there was the education of saying, please don't buy the food at Stop and Shop for your food drive. Please go to the bodega and the community, because while you have a different idea of what that is, if that place goes out of business and 90% of their money comes from EBT and SNAP, if they go out of business, our community has lost an asset. And now a bunch of those people who are connected with me have been in our bodegas and have been in our corner stores. So the next round of conversations we have about food and food options in the city of Hartford will actually have those people bringing some knowledge and some lived experience in, rather than good people who have heard that Hartford is a food desert and they need to address that.
Right.
Education for everyone through, and soul work, soul loving, holding work.
And that is what comes through community. Now, Jocelyn, I know you have a limited amount of time.
Yes.
So I wanted you to give out your information, the actual location, physical location, the website, how they can follow you on social media, or any way for farmers to get in touch with you. Just put it all out there right now for everybody.
Okay. So we're located on 22 Orange Street in Hartford. And just to piggyback off a little bit from Kimora, we are in a right in the middle of, not in the middle, but we are in a Hartford neighborhood that is underserved, under-resourced. And I think when we're talking about good food, this is where we need to put good food, right? Where there aren't, Whole Foods and things like that. But 22 Orange Street, that's where you can find us. mercadopop.shop is the email. Any farmers that are interested in connecting, they can fill out the farmer vendor form that's on the site. And you can follow me at mercadopopct on Instagram and Facebook.
Excellent. Well, Jocelyn, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. and we will have you on again. Again, as Lou and I were talking in the beginning, we want to expand this show since we have a platform, and both of us kind of agree. We've kind of gone the rounds with the cannabis industry. Both of us have come to the point of awakening that's made us realize there's a lot more to talk about than just the cannabis industry, because right now, let's all be real, it's not in great shape. No, but neither is the world, and neither is society, like we're going to talk, like we've been talking about. So if we're those type of people who are leaders and who are able to make things happen, just like the legalization of weed and all that, why don't we take it to another level into the community at large, not just the cannabis community? So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's yeah. We're all part of both, but I think I'm starting to shift my focus more towards the community at large.
Yep. Yeah, big corporations taking over, and the people need the power back. So
yeah.
But thank you for having me, Joe, Louise. It's always good seeing you, Kimora.
Jocelyn, I'll see you in passing sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yep. I support the heck out of you, and I watch you from afar.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Take care now. All right, Kimora.
Yeah.
So let's talk. I want to hear about the campaign that you got going on right now. I know you sent me a thing about it, but you know what? I don't have words, so I couldn't open it.
I feel you.
Okay, warm hearts, full bellies, fierce love. So you're including Okay. Oh, good. Now I can get this link.
Yeah.
That's much better. All right, we can read this together. Excellent. All right, tell us about this.
Okay, so we have until midnight tonight. And so we talked a little bit, and I've been here before. So mutual aid, community care, community that comes and takes care of itself, right, is important. And we practice that all of the time. And people who are around all the time see it. But these are our ways to demonstrate it so that everyone sees it. So Kwanzaa is the big deal. It's the Black holiday created to affirm and share Afrocentric principles, right? So that's the week after Christmas. And we have a that's our last thinking and doing day of the year. We have the celebration. We do dance. We've got all kinds of great stuff that comes in. We celebrate and look at what we've done over the year. And we end with a big old meal. And we pay for it with people, right? So like I said, we've built this infrastructure. So when I talk about pulling in $4,000 in donation in amounts of $25 and $50, when I talk about pulling in $4,000 in 48 hours, that sounds ridiculous, but people are primed for this. And we do this every year. So every November we sell hoodies. And the money from those hoodies pays for the Kwanzaa for the rental of the pond house and then for the meal. And very clearly, if we bring in a lot of money, we have a big, delicious meal. If we bring in a little money, we scrap it together, but we make that meal happen. But it's very clear that every single human being who bought a hoodie is a person who paid for that meal. So that's a way that we can stand back and say, yeah, you only gave us $10, but look at this amazing meal because so many people only gave us $10, right? So we do that for the Kwanzaa, and then we do it again in May for our big June Pride and Juneteenth event. So right now we are selling beanies this year because everyone said that they wanted beanies. So we've got, little labyrinth beanies that people can buy for $25. And then we've got hoodies. But this year the hoodie, it's still the labyrinth hoodie, but it actually is a Kwanzaa hoodie. So it's a black hoodie, and it's got the labyrinth in green, and it says Kuji Chagalia because Kuji Chagalia is self-determination, and that's the second day of Kwanzaa, and that is always when we have our Kwanzaa celebration. So I'm gonna stop talking in a second, but to give people an idea of who I am and how I am, it's Kwanzaa, and it's not that damn serious, right? It's a chance for us to come together and celebrate how we live. So we choose to do it on Kuji Chagalia, which is the second day, because it's the fun one to say, right? And it's the one everyone's like, oh, big. It's Swahili, it means self-determination. So we do it on that day and come together in Windsy and play with it. Because it's a made-up holiday to bring us together. So, it's all about bringing us together.
No, I agree with that. I think it's a great holiday. And I think it's great what you're doing. And the reason I haven't been that attentive is because I've been on your website and I just ordered myself a beanie.
Yay! Thank you.
I have run into, I've been feeling very charitable lately. I've run into, I wouldn't say some good fortune, but I have a little extra money. um, and I want to spread it out into the community. And this is a perfect way for me because I need a new one that doesn't have weed on it. All mine are like weed, from
Last Wednesday was tie-dye day at my son's school, and I got really excited. I was like, "Oh, I got you!" And then it took a minute to find the tie-dye that was going to be school appropriate.
I'm, I'm actually right in the middle of I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm going to keep my name out there in person. All right, I think I'm good. I ordered a nice one, a black one. And let's go. Continue. Here we go. Come on, we're doing it right now. Yeah, I'm very inspired. Okay, so let's see. All right. Oh, shipping and handling. Oh, that's okay. That's fine.
So just so you know, that means that your name is going to be on the banner. So when people walk in, there's a big old banner, and so just like we do the banners with the sponsorship logos for Kwanzaa, it's our painting from last year's Kwanzaa, and it has every single person's name, and it says Kwanzaa brought to you by. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
happy. Good. All right, here we go. We're going to the payment now.
The hard part, the scary part.
No. What are they saying here? No thanks. All right, let's see. Credit card. We're getting here, Kimura. I know this is taking up airtime, but too bad. This is important to me.
I definitely think so. So wait, so I want to go back to what you're talking about stepping. So you keep doing that, and thank you, Louis. You're talking about how cannabis brings us together. And now you're looking to like expand out. This is the thing that has needed to happen because, like you and I have talked about it. I have sat at some of the most amazing cannabis ciphers with some of the most amazing, interesting, weird, strange, diverse people, and I've learned so many interesting, great things. And then afterwards, very often that's the end of it, right? And I think like you're talking, this cannabis community is awesome, but every member of the cannabis community is a member of a larger community.
Right.
And, so how do we bring that out? Like, it's wonderful. So I think a part of like destigmatizing cannabis is a bunch of social workers in a social work meeting saying, well, you know what? We talked about this last week at the meeting, but over the weekend I went to wherever and I smoked a spliff with these folks and we started discussing, and this is where I am now, right? Like, I would really, like, when we talk about removing the stigma, I know that back when I was a teacher, my best lesson plans, well, no, I do the lesson plan, but then fleshing it out was with a blunt. So it'd be like sitting down,
Right,
writing out the lesson
right.
plan, smoking a blunt, looking at the lesson plan, and then creating the beauty. It'd be wonderful to talk to people about that. It'd be wonderful to have people. So instead of the cannabis community being a bunch of people who get high and connect over that, cannabis is an amazing tool
Oh, let me tell you.
to do all the other great stuff.
Yeah, I wish the lawmakers themselves, those people, those authorities, the people we have decided to put in charge of our lives, which aren't doing a very good job, would smoke weed or even take mushrooms and do like the tribes used to decide what was going to happen, right?
Yep.
Let's
Like,
get back to it.
We're working. I'm excited. I'm getting ready to do a 4-part training series with a client with Kevnisha. And
Great.
right? And so, like, this is a client, they're not using cannabis and anything. Some of their employees have come over to the labyrinth, but I love being able to share a real biography. So this is who I do, and this is the expert who I'm bringing in. This is her website. This is her work. I love integrating that part into my real work.
Right. And that's what it's all about. Like you said something very important. We are all members of the cannabis community. And again, when I was on that call last week, it really struck me. But it struck me at other times at large gatherings of events, right? And the cannabis community in itself, you looked at that call and there was all different tones of skin. There was all different people from various different aspects of life, all gathered on one phone call or at one event. I've seen it also at one event, all of like mind gathered around that one plant. But like you said, each one of these people have their own communities that they live in. And if we as a cannabis community can have that attitude, or that it's even higher level than an attitude of unity around one specific cause, and all the other stuff that society tells us should divide us, it doesn't matter. It's not a factor because we are unified around one cause. That is what community is about. And that one cause is, obviously to support each other, to help each other, and try to create a better world. And
So how do we name, and I don't know if healing is necessary, but how do we name what happened to a very small, very fragile cannabis community that was attacked with corporate greed? So if we think about Connecticut, right, and let's go back 5 years, and let's go back 20 years, and let's go back to normal meetings, right? And let's think about what that community looked like. Because I see and I hear it's turned into an ugly corporate place with people trying to make lots of money. And I don't think that was what we expected. So how do we name what this thing called the cannabis community is, and then reclaim or introduce what I consider pot values? And I know that for me, part of legalization, there's pluses and minuses everywhere, but part of the icky around legalization was the corporatization of weed. Like the amount of, if I had ever bought weed when it was illegal, because whatever, but if I had, I'm sure that I got it in old spaghetti jars, in reused or brand new mason jars that I ended up using afterwards for something, in all kinds of salsa jars, but in old mayonnaise jars, right? And the amount of corporate packaging, because people need their product to stand out in the market so that people will buy it because corporate, right? And now weed, which is this wonderful, dude, I was smoking weed, I left only footprints and I brought my bag and I cleaned up after other people, now involves people ordering very beautiful plastic stickers to go on other people's pieces of plastic so that they can sell their cannabis. Like, I don't like what I've seen happen to what in my mind, this plant that brought us together and got us to see the importance of community and the importance of us working together and being together. I saw it in my state turn into this ugly, greedy thing where, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but if you're hemp and you're fighting against cannabis, or you're cannabis and you're fighting against hemp, we lost something really
then we
important.
lost that. We lost our way. And that was all designed by the state so they could maintain control of the industry and maintain control of those three letters, THC.
THC, can't.
And I think they felt that the best way they could do that was through corporate control, because they can work with corporate control better than they can work with the cannabis community, let's say, in building the industry. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It was, I don't want to say collusion, but it was definitely a matter of not only convenience for the state, but it obviously helped financially. But let's be real, they also sold out to Big Pharma a long time ago. They also sold out to the insurance industry a long time ago. So this is their MO of doing business, right? They would much rather deal with 4, 5, 6 corporations than 50, 60, 70 entrepreneurs, right? So, it finally came to me why they did it and why it works that way. It's in some ways a matter of convenience, and also it's a matter of collusion, right? Wouldn't you, as a state, they'd rather deal with 6 big corporations than 20 or 30 entrepreneurs, 40 or 50, whatever. And that's why they set up the social equity program the way they did. Where, in cases like Lou and Kiba, it almost forced the social equity applicants. And I saw a great article today, just passed through on Facebook right before I got on the air, how a lot of them only got it because of their zip code. Yeah. They hadn't really been through the experience of being directly affected by the war on drugs, which was the initial intent of it. And that was all the state's design, because they made the social equity program by zip code, And so
no one wanted to look at what social, so just like no one wants to look at the idea of reparations, think about the war on drugs. What would social equity really be? Like, I think and I'm all about everyone getting licenses to sell, right? Like, if anyone can sell, everyone should sell.
Yeah, but I really think like the liquor store, right?
Yep, but just like they, by design, they shifted how it worked, and they shifted the conversation, they shifted the thinking. As I've been saying, the Social Equity Council should have been doing nothing. They shouldn't have been a part of licensing at all. They should have been a part of figuring out how to take this big windfall that was coming to the state of Connecticut and how to use that to affect and mitigate the effects of the war on drugs. But instead, that was never a conversation. It was only about, and we see what's happened to many of the social equity participants. We see how inequitable all of that has happened. And we see that, with what's going to happen next year. But that was a wonderful way to get a group of people. I'm conspiracy theorist, if you want to say, well, it's just how it happened. But it was a wonderful way to get a whole lot of people to take their entire life savings and their family's life savings and sink it into something that was only meant to make people who are already millionaires and billionaires from other states even more money.
Even more money, right.
And I wish that we could have had those, like, again, I wish that in this state we'd had conversations about the ethics and values around cannabis and what we were asking to bring in, right? Like, the corporate folks who wanted to come and bring on all the money, it would have been wonderful if they could have been honest about it. But we moved faster than the speed of trust. And I hope, if there's nothing else that the cannabis community doesn't learn from that nonsense, is that everyone jumped up, everyone got excited when it was going to be legalized, and everyone jumped into bed together thinking that we're all working towards the same thing. What we needed to do was have a year of ciphers, period. And at the end of that year, then figure out what it was going to look like.
I agree, and I've often talked about this with Jason and various other people, We compromised, and in a lot of ways, sometimes there's a bit of regret there. And a lot of it was we trusted the state.
So I haven't done
and we
it for
shouldn't
a long
have.
time.
And we shouldn't have, because they did implement a lot of our ideas and a lot of
just enough to shut people up and make you think that, and lull you into believing that you were in there with them.
Exactly right. You hit the nail right on the head. Yes.
I told y'all this before it happened. I told them this before. Like, that's the way it goes. When you're a marginalized person, when you're representing marginalized ideas, if the powers that be say, you know what, you're bright, that's awesome, we need to implement your ideas, what you need to realize, and again, add in everything you know about the state, when they identify you as brilliant, you're doing something wrong and they're getting ready to use you. No one likes to hear that. That sounds horrible. But we know the state to be what it is. We know the government to be what it is. We know bureaucracy to be what it is. Of course, they find the loud, annoying, possibly bright and brilliant, going to mess it up marginalized folks and pull them in really quickly and cut them off at the knees. And they don't realize it until it's too late. And cannabis and hemp hate each other, and communities are not being served.
Yeah, no, I gotta say, what really pushed it over the edge, because remember, this was a 7-year process to get this thing legalized. And we really hadn't made any progress. We've made some, but most bills never made it even to the floor, right? It was the social equity component and the pandemic, I think that one
And
year,
no one bothered to learn what social equity was.
right.
At the time, if
At
you
the
remember,
time, it was a
we
big
asked
buzz.
everyone. It sounded
Yes.
cool. I don't want to look like I'm a racist. I want to look like I'm a good person. Social equity.
The
Yes.
timing was right for that. Right. It was post-pandemic, right, or in the middle of it.
Shut everyone up, and they won. They won.
Right. They did not give us true social equity.
They didn't give any social equity. No.
But because like it was the timing was perfect, once we added that into the bill, our proposed bill. Oh yeah.
And I'm going to go again, though. This is where the cipher needs to be, right? Because one thing that cannabis does is it allows us to let our guard down. And a whole lot of those people stepping into cannabis didn't in 2020, right? But no one wanted to look ignorant. No one wanted to appear as if they didn't know anything. So no one bothered to ask the questions about social equity that they should have in order to know something.
Right. And the type of social equity that we had proposed got shut down, which was individuals, individuals who had particularly been affected by the war on drugs get the opportunity to enter the industry first. And now, now I don't even know that would have made a difference. Seeing the way they set up the industry,
I'd say so on this, perhaps I'm low bar. But I just had a conversation with someone this morning. Like, this is a conversation that I have with a lot of people 7 or 8 years in, right? And it's that, like, when you step up and you want to be in a leadership role and you've got great ideas, then when the powers that be, I'm going to keep saying it, when the powers that be come and say, this is great, it's so easy to get sucked up into it. And it's so easy to like understand, believe. You know what? I guess in the last 800 years, no one other than me has ever said it in this way that they're finally understanding it. And here we are. Now we can step into it. And I get it, but now there's lessons to be learned. And I hope that people can utilize the lessons learned and say the things that they don't want to say, right? Say the things that are uncomfortable to say. Have the conversations that need to be said. Because social equity was, quite honestly, from the conversations that I had with people at the time and straight through, social equity was a way to not sound like you're an asshole trying to get rich. But absolutely, absolutely everyone's idea of social equity involved getting lots of money into the hands of people, right? Rather than looking at this as a brand new industry where it's brand new industry, it's bringing in revenue to the state, which means regardless of what the industry is, it's tampons, it's flowers, it's airplanes, it's cars, it's cannabis, doesn't matter. Right. The job of the state and industry is to make all of the money off of it, right? And that's what people wanted. So rather than forcing the conversation to be about what are the values of this, people chose to have the conversation about making money instead, about economics. And I think like I was saying, here we are. I would love to see people say, hey, wait, it got away from us, as potheads, let's pull in Cheech and Chong, let's go way back. But as these people who value this plant, we value the community and connection. And we refuse we realize that we abdicate our responsibility. We realize that when we thought that we could be legal drug dealers and make money, we jumped into that and we didn't look at this other thing, right? But that involves real self-reflection and a faith in your community to hold you. Right. And I think that's what we need to do, right? Like I come from where I come from, right? But in my world, there's a whole lot of poor folks who have figured out how to pay the bills with drugs. If you've always been poor, you want to be rich. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. Throwing this idea of social equity in there created a place where those people couldn't have real conversations. I hope there's drug dealers, there's hippies, there's medicine folks, there's all kinds of folks who are part of the cannabis community and have something to add. Right. And a lot of corporate people who are not at all a part of the cannabis community were allowed in because the people of the cannabis community were not willing to name who they were and why they were there. Now, that probably sounds confusing.
No, but I understand what you mean.
And if we could have all come together and understood together, I want to make a whole lot of money. No, you don't understand. I want to have a house on Nantucket. I want to live like them. But none of us had what it took to deal with a corporate overlord. Like, they weren't going to make cannabis legal in Connecticut until they had everything in place for them to make all of the money.
Right. And they had already set it up through the medical. They really already almost had this in mind when they set up the structure of the medical program.
Yeah. I'm so happy with Jocelyn and a few other folks, right? Because when it hit, like, there's a bunch of folks I was like, dude, they're never going to let us get rich off of weed. Understand who we are, understand how this is supposed to work. You can make amazing papers, you can make wonderful soil, you can make great soil supplements, you can make lights, you can make greenhouses. Understand that the feds are still going to do what the feds are going to do. And all of my dear, wonderful, young, broke, poor, brokish kind of Black people who want to jump into cannabis, all of the advice I gave them was, no, do something that feeds into the industry. When the feds are ready to come take it away, they're going to take it away.
Yeah.
And even though it's really nice to believe, and I know I am at least as good as everyone and probably better than a whole lot of people, I also understand that when I walk into certain spaces, my skin, my gender, my address, and a whole lot of other stuff is going to create a place where those people in that room do not see me as their equal. And if we're talking about cannabis billionaires from Colorado, they're never going to see me as anything other than something to suck from. And me walking into those rooms and thinking that they see me as their equal.
Nope.
They
see you. They even see somebody like me.
Yep.
Like a more hippie type as someone they could. They don't, I'm not on their level. No, exactly. I don't care what, you know what I mean? It has nothing to do with this. It's they think they're above, you know what I mean? They're almost like heartless. Oh, these people have heart. These people,
and it's got nothing to do with
they're real.
And that's the thing. These are asshole corporate bros who want to get the maximum amount of money for the least amount of effort. That's who they are. This is cannabis. Okay, yes, we're in a big old room. Everything's got a big pot leaf on it. The people in here are going to make money off of water, off of springs, off of
and they are
whatever.
Cannabis. Oh, thank you for making it legal. Now we can make money off it.
Now we're going to exploit you. Thank you for creating an industry. And now that you've created the industry, and now that you've done the markets research for you, we're going to make it legal. But we're going to make it legal just long enough.
And they do that with every industry. And like you just said, the feds are going to come in and mess it up. And they are about to make their move doing it. Just this thing they did with the hemp move is a precursor to their rescheduling. And once that happens, it's over. You know, it's the tobacco industry all over again. Forget it. We're done.
Yep.
We're done.
You know, industry.
So this is and we're getting close to time, which brings us back to how important it is to put our time and energy and effort into the community, into human resources, into each other, and helping, teaching, supplying, providing, whatever it may be, each other our needs. And right now, today, we've talked about food, but there's housing needs. There is medical needs. Do you know what I mean? Because society, the system, is not designed for our benefit.
At all.
So, with that, I want you to tell us what's going on up there at the community, at the corner for the holiday season. Tell us a little bit what dates we need to know about the Thinking and Doing Day, how people can get involved, how people can contribute, bring food, whatever. Tell me everything you can in 3 minutes.
Okay. First off, do not bring food. We talked about cans. Give me money. So you can send me money on Venmo or Cash App, and that is either the @ or the $sign KAMORALEELLA. So
or direct gift cards right to you.
Or direct gift cards, come bring them to us. But send us that money. We get that directly out. On December 18th, which is 1 week before Christmas, we're having an online art show and art sale. So David Jackson, who is one of the healing artists who works with us, so you've seen his artwork on everything. He's going to be live painting through that event. We're going to be selling that event. And then we've got a bunch of other artists and folks who are going to be bringing stuff to sell. I'm going to have 3 of the beanies. We're going to sell those. And all of that money, that's, again, everything that we do is education. People are going to watch that as the money comes in, we're going to be sending the money right out. My initial idea was that all the money that came in during it was going to go out immediately. But because we've got a bunch of people who don't have electronic stuff, it's going to be until the next day. So all of the money that we bring in for that will go into the hands of people. That's us practicing faith. And that's us like that. What we do is education. And there's a lot of people who think that you've got to give to a nonprofit because they're ethical and all that other good shit. No, we are going to be transparent. The way that we do it is if you give it to us, we give it to them, the people get what they need. And then on the 27th is when Kwanzaa is. But people have until midnight tonight to buy the beanies and the hoodies. I put the link here. But if you go to Custom Ink and just put in Kimura's Cultural Corner Kwanzaa, our fundraiser will come up. And then for what we do, we've got the next book series is a 3-part book series that starts in January. It's the last 2 Sundays in January and the first Sunday in February. And that book is The Quaking of America, which pick up The Quaking of America. You should read it. You should come do it with us. But that leads us into the February Thinking and Doing Day.
All right. So we got a busy holiday season. I just got 30 seconds left. Kimura's Cultural Corner on Instagram, Facebook. Give me the address real quick so people can come up if they want to drop stuff off.
If you want to come bring us stuff, it is 75 Sterling Street, Hartford, Connecticut. If you want to send me stuff, email me because the mailing address is a different address. But we are at 75 Sterling Street in Hartford, Connecticut, right across Albany Avenue from Popeyes.
All right, great. Thank you, Kimura. I want to have you start having you on a more regular basis, maybe at least once a month when we talk.
I would love to.
I love you. Yes, we will. All right, thank you, everybody. Reminder, thank you to our sponsor, Metatron Homegirl, with 2 locations in Orange and American. Find me at Joe the Weed Guy and at Green Head Media. Thank you, Kimura. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Uncle Lou. See you all next week. We love you all. Peace.